Hello, it's Monday, July 31st, 2017, and you're watching Life Talk. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Hope everybody had a good weekend.
Yes, I'm sure
We're
they did.
back. It's Monday.
We're back. It's Monday. Planned Parenthood always comes out and gives the stuff about, like we've heard here in Texas, where if Planned Parenthood is done away with, it's all over. American women have no place to turn.
Yeah, and women will be dying in the streets
Dying in
and
the
all
streets
of that
and
fun stuff.
All that nonsense. And then, of course, they've been caught lying about their support of women with breast cancer, and all the screening and all they do.
The cancer screening, yes.
Yeah, and then it's revealed that there's not one Planned Parenthood facility in the United States that has a mammogram machine.
Right, and they don't provide parental...
Prenatal care.
Thank you.
Right.
We got it. Right. Prenatal care.
Prenatal care and all the other nonsense they tell you. Let's make something crystal clear here before we start. Planned Parenthood is the General Motors of abortion. It's to say they're not in the abortion business is like saying General Motors is not in the car business. It's just preposterous to suggest such a thing.
Yep.
Anyway, we have a young lady that's with us today, and she's been on the show before, who's had a unfortunate episode in her life, a very unfortunate episode. That was then followed up by another unfortunate episode with Planned Parenthood that reinforces exactly what we're saying here.
Yes.
Her name is Jamie Jeffries, and she joins us from Phoenix, Arizona. Hello, Jamie.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Well, we're just trying to hang in here. We may be talking to the only person in the United States that's in a hotter place than we are.
Really?
Yeah.
That's true.
No, it hasn't been too bad. The monsoons have been cooling it down a little bit for us, thankfully.
We've had no monsoons, so we don't.
Actually, you know what? This week is going to be pretty nice. So.
Yeah, it's not going to be over like 93 or 94.
No, we're going to stay in the low 90s, high 80s. That's not too bad for Texas in August.
That's practically earmuff weather for Texas in August.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, Jamie, when you were 17 years old, you had a very horrific thing happen. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So in the winter of 2007, I had just tested out of high school, and I was waiting for a spring semester of college to start, and I had put myself in a dangerous situation, and I had thought that I was going to a movie night amongst friends, and I ended up alone at an apartment with a man I didn't know, and then he proceeded to attack me, and I was raped, and it was awful, and I don't feel the need to go into more detail than that, It was awful, and, when he was done doing what he wanted to do, he made me drive him to a friend's house and drop him off, and I remember just in that drive just thinking, he's going to make you do what he wants, so just do it anyways, and I was just frozen and paralyzed in fear, and it was awful. So it took me a few days to kind of realize what had happened, and then realize, I could actually be in danger, and, there could be physical problems from what happened to me. And like most girls who experience this kind of a thing, there's a lot of embarrassment and almost this guilt or shame that I felt, and I just didn't feel like I could come forward and tell my family what happened to me. Of course, I'm sure they would have been supportive, but I just didn't feel comfortable telling them what had happened, and I wasn't sexually active at the time, so I just didn't know what to do. And I knew a lot of my friends had gone to Planned Parenthood in town for birth control and for appointments, and so I was like, all right, I'll call them because they help all of my friends with this kind of stuff, and they never told my friends' moms when they went there, so I'm like, okay, well, I'll go to them, and they won't, tell my mom what happened. They'll just help me. So when I called them, it was almost, I don't even know, it was almost like unbelievable what had happened, and I feel like looking back now, it's like an out-of-body experience, almost like I was listening to myself on this phone call thinking, is this seriously my life? Is this happening to me? So I called them for help because I was afraid that I had some kind of like internal damage done. And so when I called them, they said, well, are you pregnant? Is that what you need help with? And I said, no, I didn't think I was going to get pregnant just based on what had happened during the attack. I wasn't really concerned about that issue. And I said, I just want to get, an exam to make sure that there's no major issues going on from what had happened, and maybe get an STD test just to make sure everything was okay. And she really just kept pushing the whole, well, you're not pregnant yet. And I'm like, well, no. And even if I was pregnant, I didn't know why that would matter. I just wanted to come in and get checked out. I was like hurting and totally freaked out, and I didn't understand my own body or what had just happened. And so I really just wanted some help. And she said that if I had any damage done to me, that it would still be there in a few weeks. So if in a few weeks I was pregnant, to call them, and then I could come in and see them then. And I was really confused and asked, why did I need to be pregnant to be seen? And she said that there were a lot of legalities that I didn't understand, and that it wasn't in their best interest to take me on as a client. And I didn't understand that at the time. Obviously now I know a little bit more about the habits of Planned Parenthood and how they report abuse cases, or how they report serving minors and things like that. So I had just experienced this really awful night, and then went to somebody for help and was just basically pushed away, and was like, well, deal with it. And that was it. I was left there like alone, like, okay, well, I guess that's it. And that was really it.
Well, first off, anybody who claims to be in the medical community, which these people always claim to be, but they're not. They're in the abortion business, and that's a totally separate thing. But anybody who claims to be in the medical community, who would tell you that if you've got an injury right now, it'll still be there 2 or 3 weeks from now. I mean, that's obscene to say such a thing. The fundamental truth of all kinds of all forms of emergency treatment is time. You have to do it right now. And if you did have severe physical problems as a result of this attack, they could be worse 2 or 3 weeks down the road. They're not going to be better. So for her to tell you that is utterly outrageous. Now, when she said that it would be better for them not to have you as a client, what she's referring to, of course, is the mandatory reporting situation, because you were a minor.
Right.
And we know for a fact that they do not report.
No, they do not.
The Planned Parenthood and the National Abortion Federation are operating a nationwide pedophile protection racket. And if you don't believe it, go to our website, childpredators.com, look at the investigation that we did. It's a fact. They're operating a nationwide pedophile protection racket. That's what Planned Parenthood is. Now, they didn't want to know anything about you, and I haven't asked you this question yet, but I bet I know the answer. Did she make any attempt to get your name or contact information so that they could get you any help?
No, she didn't ask anything like that. She just said that, she kept saying, well, if you do end up getting pregnant, then you can come to us. Or she said, well, if you want to get birth control, almost like I couldn't come in for just an exam. I had to come in for something on top of that. And I told her, I don't need birth control. I don't plan on getting raped again. I don't need that. I just need an exam to make sure I'm physically okay. But she wouldn't see me unless I needed something on top of that. So, Arizona has parental consent laws for abortion that started in 1995. So if I had gone to them pregnant for an abortion, like I was a minor, they would have done it and not reported. The same way that if they would have seen me for an exam and given me birth control, they wouldn't have reported my rape. No matter when they would have seen me, they wouldn't have reported it anyways. The reason they didn't want to see me for just the exam is because them being sneaky and not reporting this situation with a minor wasn't worth the risk financially.
Right.
If I was going to get an expensive abortion and be a repeat customer by buying contraception, they would run that risk of, well, let's do something with her paperwork. And yeah, it's risky, but we're getting hundreds of dollars from her. I wasn't giving them that. I just wanted to come in one time to make sure I was okay. And, so I mean, I don't know what would have happened to me and, my health and my life if they would have given me that exam, but sure would have been helpful to at least, or maybe be referred somewhere or, anything. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, well, they were way more interested in killing the baby, and what they should have done was taken your information and advised you to call the police to let them know what happened and to transfer you to a counselor. They pride themselves on counseling these women and doing such a wonderful job, but yet they were not interested in listening to anything that you had to say because they didn't want to be liable, obviously. But, it's just... And again, we ask that question all the time. Where's the choice? Where are the women that want to protect Planned Parenthood and what they advocate for?
There was no baby to kill, so they had no interest in her.
Right.
That was it. If you'd have had a baby that you wanted to have killed, they'd have been more than happy. They'd have gone to the Supreme Court to get you in there to have an abortion. Let me ask you a question real quick, Jamie. How old was this person that assaulted you?
How old was he?
How old do you think he was?
I would say probably early 20s.
Okay. And because no report was ever made of this situation, and this organization basically jumped through hoops to keep from having to do the mandatory reporting and didn't get any information about you, he was free to rape somebody else.
Right.
And we've got to believe that, this was 10 years ago? Yep, 10 years ago, so he's 31 now, or 32 or 35, whatever he might be. We got to believe this is not a one-time deal, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you something. That person at Planned Parenthood, that adult at Planned Parenthood that violated the mandatory reporting laws of the state of Arizona, if that scumbag has gone out and raped somebody else, she's responsible for that rape. I don't care what she says. She's responsible for whoever he's assaulted since then, because had she done her job, he might have been caught right that minute.
That's true. Absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think a lot of things maybe could have been caught if they would have done their job. And I feel a lot of questioning left from my experience with them. I'll never really know if what happened to me that night caused me problems. I actually was later in life diagnosed with a rare form of infertility that's caused by severe scar tissue, and the doctors all said it could be a natural occurrence, but it's more likely from internal trauma. And I didn't know what that trauma would be. I had a surgery when I was 11, but we don't think that would have done it. It could have been this attack. I don't know. And so that kind of drives me mad, because I spent years battling this infertility and going through excruciatingly painful tests and surgeries for this scar tissue from damage that I'm like, was it the damage that he did? Could they have seen that? Could they have prevented that and saved me all of these years of pain? I don't know, and I'll never know. And I just hate to think how many other girls are out there with the same kind of questions and, the same needs. When I was writing my recent article covering this situation, I was looking up some of the statistics for rape in my state, and, there's 2,445 girls in high school raped every year, according according to a survey that was sponsored by the CDC.
Well, that's the
At-risk youth behavior survey. And those are the ones that, and this is an anonymous survey that is filled out at high schools across the state. And so those are just the ones that, people are comfortable mentioning or reporting about. So it happens a lot. There's tons of girls out there like me. 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted. 1 in 70 men. It happens to men too. And who are they? I just don't want anybody to call Planned Parenthood and experience what I did, because it just leaves you even more afraid and untrusting than before you made the call.
right.
Well, I'm really sorry for what has happened to you. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. And you coming out and talking about your story, your testimony, and having other people hear it will prevent this in somebody else's life. And so it is so important that you get this message out to other girls. So we thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
We're sorry for the problems that have occurred since then.
Renee is exactly right. I promise you, Jamie, you're helping some girl out there right now, at least one, who's gone through this.
Thank you. I hope so. And, that it's not fun to kind of relive these experiences or admit these things that I've, lived through. But if it can help someone else, then it's, what's the point of me having it in my history book if I can't use it to
That's right.
save someone else from what I went through? And so hopefully people will just start realizing the truth and just call someone else, just call a different number and go somewhere else for help.
Well, we thank you for having the courage to come forward, because I know a lot of people would not have that kind of courage at this point. So I appreciate your doing that. And like I said, I have no doubt that out there right now there's some women listening that have had similar experiences, and your strength and your courage is going to help them. And you may never know it, but I guarantee you it's happening.
And the love that you have in your family and your children, your little girl. So that's such a blessing in itself.
Yeah, let's, before we get off, and we are way out of time here, the good news is you did eventually have a child.
I did, yes.
And she just had her first birthday party, as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that was a pretty eventful occasion, because I remember when my daughter had her first birthday party, and I still remember it to this day, and I guess I always will. And like I've said before, my daughter doesn't remember it, but I'll never forget it. And I'm sure that's the same way with you.
Yeah, it was awesome. So.
And when was
a
that?
blessing.
When was this party?
Last weekend, I think.
Last weekend. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
good
you're still fresh on that memory.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie, for coming on. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Obviously it took her 10 years to come forward and want to talk about
That's
this.
painful.
Well,
I mean,
sure.
you have a lot you have to work through.
You have a lot of issues to deal with here. And, but last week we were talking about Planned Parenthood, and I made the statement that every elected official in this country, there ought to be a federal law that says any elected official that votes for taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood ought to be required to get all their health care from Planned Parenthood.
Agree.
And that ought to be a federal law.
It should be.
If you're a congressman, a state representative, a city councilman, a dog catcher, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You support Planned Parenthood's federal funding. They get $1.5 million a day
Yep.
in this country, just in federal funds alone. That is pornographic. If anything's pornographic, politically pornographic, that is. And I still say they ought to be mandated by federal law that they cannot receive health care from anybody but Planned Parenthood. If they think it's so good for other people, let them go there.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if they were to have to do that, this federal funding, state funding, city funding in some places would dry up overnight.
Quick, yeah.
Because these people aren't going to Planned
Right.
Parenthood.
I say we just totally defund it.
I say that too. But I'm saying, if not,
Yeah,
then
right.
the fallback position is to do this.
Yeah.
Is to make these people use Planned Parenthood. Anyway, we're just about out of time, but we do have the message from Renee about how you can get your free pro-life pin. So we'll go to that right now.
Hi, have you seen this pin? It's really neat, and people all over America are using them to show their support for the pro-life cause. They're available from Life Dynamics for $5, but because you're a Life Talk viewer, I'm going to make you an offer you can't resist. If you don't already have one of these pins, go to lifedynamics.com/prolifepin. Then when you check out, use the promo code at the bottom of the screen and I'll send you one of these pins as my gift. I'll even pay the postage. If you prefer, you can also order by phone at area code 940-380-8800. Now you can't beat that price, right? So order yours today and make sure all of your pro-life friends get one for themselves. Again, go to lifedynamics.com/prolifepin and use the promo code below or call 940-380-8800.
We're back. We're out of time, Renee. You got
We
anything
are.
else?
No, just send in your comments and suggestions. We love to hear them. We have some that we could still get to right now, and we're working on those.
We're out of time today.
Yep, if time comes up. But yes, please send those in.
Yep.
We need 'em.
We need your comments and your questions and whatever else you want to send to us. And anyway, that's all the time we have. Until tomorrow, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how this killing will stop. We'll see you tomorrow.